The story of Josef Fritzl is one of the most terrifying and shocking cases in recent history. This is not just a story about a crime, but about a long, horrifying ordeal that lasted for 24 years. The world was horrified when the details of this crime came to light. Can you imagine a man who committed unthinkable acts and kept dark secrets hidden in a secret chamber? Josef Fritzl was a man who lived in Amstetten, a small town in Austria. To the outside world, he seemed like a normal man. He was a husband, a father, and a grandfather. But behind closed doors, Josef Fritzl was hiding a terrible secret that no one could have imagined. In the basement of his house, Josef Fritzl built a hidden chamber. This chamber was soundproof and had a complex system of locks that only he could open. It was here that he committed his terrible crimes. For 24 long years, this chamber became a prison for his own daughter, Elisabeth. In 1984, when Elisabeth was just 18 years old, her father took her into the basement. He told her he needed help with something, but instead, he trapped her in the hidden chamber. From that day on, Elisabeth was locked away from the outside world. No one knew where she was, and Josef told everyone that she had run away to join a cult. Inside the chamber, Elisabeth was forced to live in horrible conditions. She had very little food, no sunlight, and no contact with the outside world. Over the years, Josef repeatedly abused her. As a result, Elisabeth gave birth to 7 children inside the chamber. 3 of these children were kept in the basement with her, while the other 3 were taken upstairs by Josef to live with him and his wife. He told his wife that Elisabeth had left these children on their doorstep because she couldn't take care of them. For 24 years, no one suspected what was happening in the Fritzl house. But in 2008, one of Elisabeth's children, who was kept in the basement, became very sick. Josef took the child to the hospital, and this is when the truth began to unravel. The doctors were suspicious because the child was very weak and had never seen a doctor before. They contacted the police, who started to investigate. Elisabeth begged her father to let her go to the hospital to see her sick child. Josef, knowing that the situation was getting out of control, finally agreed. But when Elisabeth arrived at the hospital, she told the doctors the truth about what had happened to her. The police were called, and Josef Fritzl was arrested. When the news of Josef Fritzl's crimes became public, the world was shocked. People couldn't believe that something so terrible could happen in a small town in Austria. The story was on the front pages of newspapers all over the world, and it raised many questions about how someone could commit such horrible acts without anyone noticing. In 2009, Josef Fritzl was put on trial for his crimes. He was charged with murder because one of Elisabeth's children died shortly after birth, and Josef had failed to get medical help. He was also charged with kidnapping, abuse, and other crimes. The court found him guilty, and he was sentenced to life in prison. Can you imagine this type of a father, and how much suffering his daughter has to go through? While the victims of this crime will never fully recover from what they went through, the rescue of Elisabeth and her children brought an end to a long nightmare and brought justice to those who suffered in the horrific chamber of Josef Fritzl.